So yeah, clearly this is not going to work. Yeah, it's a little sketchy. Just put some weight on this side. So let's get back to working on this mini lifted muscle car project. Now, next thing I want to work on is the steering. I'm going to be using a rack and pinion for this one because this thing is four-wheel drive and because we have slightly bigger tires than the Mini Baja Bug project, we need a rack and pinion for this. So I was originally planning on doing like how the Mini Baja Bug project is set up, where it's like ATV style of steering, where basically you just do this to this to go full lock to lock with the front tires, but because this thing has four-wheel drive and bigger tires, I think it would be really, really hard to turn the wheel if we did that, and we obviously don't have any space for power steering, and I can guarantee the engine we're using for this project does not produce enough electricity to run power steering, so we definitely can't do power steering, but if we do a rack and pinion, we have more mechanical advantage between the steering wheel and the tires, because you have to turn the steering wheel more to turn the tires. We hopefully won't need power steering, but that'll make it to where we can't have any controls on the steering wheel, which makes it to where, because smaller projects like these, it's kind of just better and easier to drive if you have a thumb throttle or a twist throttle or something, because when you have a foot throttle, can kind of bouncing around, and that can translate into the throttle pedal and just kind of make it a really rough ride. But with this project, I think it's just going to have to be, it'll have to work, because there's enough space in here for a throttle pedal and a brake pedal, and for this project, that's all we really need. Unlike the Mini Baja Bug project, where we have 3 separate brake pedals, we don't need that with this one. So I think it's just one throttle pedal, one brake pedal is good enough. We don't need any controls on the steering wheel, which will work. So now, let's figure out where the rack and pinion is going in this thing, and then we can start working on installing the tie rods and the steering wheel. Alright, so I've been staring at this for an hour now, trying to figure out where in the world to mount this rack and pinion. Now, because we have this giant differential in the front, kind of making it a bit of a challenge, figuring out where to put this. Now, I mean, it could go here, but the problem with that is now it's going to be even harder to get our feet past here, to get it, because our feet's going up here. So it's just going to be, getting it past this is going to be a challenge. I could try to mount it right here, but then it's kind of really off center where I need the tie rods. Ideally, I need the tie rods right here, not way over here. I did think about putting this in the front of the differential, and that kind of would work, but that would make it to where we'd have less space for our feet, because our feet do have to go right here and everything, and then we'd have to have a second steering U-joint going to something like that. I mean, that kind of does work. Let's just see if we can figure out a good spot to mount it in the back of the differential, and if I can't really make it work, then I'll figure out how to get it to work in the front. So trying to figure out where to put this rack and pinion has been more just trying to figure out what would be less inconvenient. Would we rather have it to where it's easier to get in and out, but then we have less room for our feet? Or should I make it to where it's a little bit harder to get in and out, but then we have more room for our feet, more room for pedals and everything? I chose that way by making it to where the rack and pinion is back here. Now I'm hoping I can get my foot, once I get in, hopefully I can get my foot. Nice, look at that. Oh, that's totally possible. Oh yeah, I can totally get my foot past the rack and pinion. It makes it a bit more challenging. You'd have to lift your foot up a little bit more, but I can still do it, so nice. Yeah, now I have plenty of room for pedals and everything, and I can still stretch my legs out a good bit. So, alright, I think that is a good spot for the rack and pinion. Not a great spot, but it at least works. So now let's work on the tie rods. Alright, so I got the steering kind of mocked up just to see if it'll work, and well, it does kind of work. It doesn't have any bump steer, which is good. It has a tiny bit of bump steer, but for an off-road vehicle, you know, that's good enough. But it does kind of have a fatal flaw. So because I had to mount the ends for the tie rods all the way down here, just so the tie rods are in a straight line, so it doesn't have any bump steer, and the rack and pinion does this. It makes it to where when the suspension is all the way down, it makes it to where the steering has a ton of play in it. Yeah, basically, because the rack and pinion can do this, it changes the distance of where the tie rod is, making it to where the steering has a bunch of play. So yeah, that is not good. Alright, so clearly this steering setup is not going to work. And I've been staring at this, trying to see, like, can I fix this somehow? Can I get this? Now, if the tie rods are, you know, relative to where the rack and pinion is, if they were in a straight line, it would still do the rocking thing back and forth, but it wouldn't translate into play in the steering. Because it's offset by a little bit, it's able to rock up and down. And I thought of, like, can I move the rack and pinion a little bit further forward? Could I extend on the spindle where the tie rod's mounted? If I just move anything, it just either creates bump steer or makes it to where we don't have enough steering angles. So, yeah, basically means that this setup is not going to work. Now, I've been staring at this and really trying to figure out how can I get this to work better, and I think the only way is to just put the rack and pinion in the front of the differential. I can even move this differential back about an inch to inch and a half. That'll give us a little bit more space for the rack and pinion and our feet and everything. So it's going to make it to where we have to use two steering U-joints to get it to go over the differential, but that's not the end of the world, I guess. So yeah, let's do that setup and see if I can get that to work. Alright, so I moved the differential back about 1.5 inches and I made it to where the CV axles are at a slight angle, but I mean it can still turn, it can still rotate while turning, so I think it's fine. It'll work. Now, I had originally thought to be able to get this set up to work with the rack and pinion in the front, I thought we were going to have to use 2 steering U-joints just to be able to get up and over the differential. But actually, now that I mocked this up and I've tacked this in place, this actually works with only 1 steering U-joint. We will have to remove this. This is the vent for this differential. I can always weld this and then drill another hole and tap it on this side so the vent comes out the side and not the top. Because once we take this off, then I think there'll be enough space to be able to have the steering column and only 1 steering U-joint. Alright, let me mock up the tie rods and then check to see if it has any bump steer to see if this works. I need to rebuild this differential anyways, but let me just plug this off. We don't want anything falling down in there. Alright, so I need to figure out the general spot of where I want the steering wheel. So therefore I can figure out, you know, at what angle to put the rack and pinion. And this is the first time sitting in it with moving the front differential back. So I actually have more room for my feet, which is nice. Oh yeah, and the rack and pinion is not in the way, which is awesome. So, alright, so that goes there. I want the steering wheel to be roughly right here. It is going to be sticking out of the windshield, but it's just gonna have to be fine because this thing's tiny. So it's actually going to be pretty close to this. It's actually going to work perfect. I don't know why I thought originally the rack and pinion wasn't going to work in the front, but now it seems to be working perfectly because, yeah, I only need 1 steering U-joint. It's totally out of the way. Now that I moved the differential back a little bit by, like I said, 1.5 inches, now it's starting to work. Alright, let's see if this says any bump steer. Nice. I mean, it has a tiny bit, but you know what? That's good enough. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, really? Yep, I just did that. I just mounted the rack and pinion backwards. Now when you move the tie rods from the back to the front, you also need to rotate the rack and pinions, therefore the steering is in the correct way, where when you turn the wheel to the left, it actually steers left. Right now, the way it's set up, I turn left and the wheels go right. So, I don't know, it's not going to be impossible to fix. I just need to cut these, probably have to move it forward a little bit more, so therefore I can rotate this, because once I do that, this steering U-joint is going to be even closer to the differential. Hopefully it still works with only needing 1 steering U-joint once I rotate this. I'm probably going to have to cut these off because now they're not going to be orientated properly. So, I don't know. It's not the end of the world, but just slightly annoying that I didn't catch this before. So it's not that hard to just flip it over the way I have this mounted, but now these are not orientated properly. And now I need to cut clearance right here, so therefore I can rock back a little bit more. And now this steering U joint is even closer to the differential, so I probably have to move this forward a tiny bit more so the steering column will actually work. Yeah, I love having to redo stuff for the third time. Nice. Now it's actually working the way it should. Now, I'm curious if it has any bump steer. Nice. Yeah, in the very limited amount of suspension travel we have, it does not have any bump steer. Awesome. Alright, let me make the other tie rod, cut it to size. I need to drill holes in these and then tack them in place. And then this part of the steering should be done. Alright, steering is now finally working. Let's check for bump steer. Nice. How about when it's turned? Nice. Let's check this side. A tiny bit on the way up, but not bad. Not bad at all. Alright, so next we need to figure out how we are attaching this part of the steering column to the frame right here. I think I'm going to do the same way I did it for the Mini Baja Bug project. Seemed to work fine for that one. And we also need to figure out where exactly we want the steering wheel. Once we install this, then the steering on this project is finally finished and we can move on with something else. Alright, so I need to figure out a good spot for the steering wheel, so therefore I can mount this to the frame. Yeah, getting in this with the fiberglass on is a bit challenging. Alright, so I want to make sure that I can turn the wheel and my hands aren't hitting this, so I almost think this is a good spot. Let me raise it up a tiny little bit. Alright, I think this is a good spot for the steering wheel. I can fully rotate it and my wrists aren't hitting this that bad, at least. I know the steering wheel is kind of sticking out of the windshield, but you know, I'm not much I can do about that. This thing's tiny. Now I want to make sure the steering wheel is in the middle. 12 3/4, 12 3/4. Alright, now that the steering's installed, I just want to make sure I can still get in and out of this thing. Now I did make it to where I can remove the steering wheel if we need to help get in and out of this thing, but I don't really need that. Nice. Yeah, we still have plenty of leg room, plenty of room for pedals and everything. Steering seems to work great. It does seem to be almost 2 revolutions to go full lock to lock. So if this ends up being a fast vehicle, I may just have to be really quick with the steering. Now, yeah, it is cool with how tiny this frame is. I still have plenty of leg room. We still have a decent amount of suspension travel in the front, and I somehow made this thing 4-wheel drive. So hopefully people taller than me can actually fit into this project. Now, it did basically take me all video just to do the steering, but I do have an excuse of it was Christmas this week, so I've been busy with that. Now, next video of this project, we need to install the pedals. I definitely need to add something to where I can't have my legs or feet touching the CV axles or the steering, so I definitely have to add some type of plates right here. I want to add a little bit more tubing right here, possibly even some cross bracing just to strengthen this frame up a little bit more. We still need to weld the frame together, but I need to wait to, once we add everything, then I'll weld the frame together. But, yeah, next video of this project, we'll do the pedals, add a little bit more tubing, and we also need to figure out where the radiator is going to go and where's the gas tank going to go on this project. But, I guess for now, I got to end this video here. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video. Now, I just want to take a quick moment just to let you guys know about something. Now, I do have a TikTok account, but there is another TikTok account that is stealing my YouTube content, slightly editing it, and then posting it to TikTok. Now, my TikTok account is at Chris_RatherbyWelding. This other TikTok account is Chainsaws989, and then he recently changed his profile picture with the name Rather_Chris in it. And yeah, he's been stealing a lot of my YouTube content. He's gone through almost all the videos of the Mini Baja Bug project. He's gone through a lot of the videos of the Mini Trophy Truck project and a couple other projects of mine, as well as he's now working on stealing a lot of my content of all my electric dirt bike projects. Now, normally I don't really mind people taking my content, posting it somewhere else. What I do mind is trying to trick people into thinking that that is me posting it. Now, I've tried to reach out to this guy. He doesn't respond. I've tried commenting on his videos, saying like, hey, this is my content. Please stop doing this. And he just deletes my comments. And also the way that he responds to other people's comments is clear that he's trying to trick people into thinking that that is me posting this stuff now. And he's posting like once or twice a day. So I want to let you guys know about this. I don't mind if you guys follow this TikTok page. I just don't want you guys following it, thinking that it is me. And then all of a sudden he starts posting either lewd content or starting to sell a bunch of garbage. And you guys think that that is me doing it. Now, like I said, I've tried reaching out to him. I've tried copyright claiming his videos. I've tried copyright claiming his TikTok page. And just nothing has happened. So I just want to let you guys know and be aware of this. I'm trying to do something about this. But it's been how many months? And nothing has happened. And he's still posting like once or twice a day. So